Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Global Seat. I'm your host Izza Atif and I'm so glad you're here. If artificial intelligence has ever excited you or overwhelmed you or honestly even just confused you, then this is the episode for you. It's already changing the way we live, whether we're students, graduates, in the workforce already, or someone who thinks they've never been exposed to artificial intelligence. We usually have conversations around if it will replace jobs or what skills would be useful in the future, and how we use artificial intelligence ethically in this day and age. And people often have polarized feelings about it just because of how much and how quickly it's kind of swept over our lives. Joining us today is someone who is such an expert in this field, and he will help answer every question we probably have. Blake Harkness is a 23-year-old AI engineer from Christchurch and the founder of Harkness AI, where he helps Kiwi small businesses actually use AI rather than just talk about it. He's also founded Young Kiwis in AI, a nationwide community which helps young New Zealanders build careers in rapidly changing industries. Blake, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's very exciting to talk about it.
Usually, before I kind of dive into the main questions, I ask the guests what they hope our listeners walk away with. So, what do you hope at the end of today's conversation listeners walk away with?
Yeah, I think AI is really, really scary because of how fast it's moving, right? Like, it's hard for me to keep up, but you've got to have that view that it's an opportunity as well. Like, there's a lot of people at the moment that are viewing it as fear for the job loss around graduate hiring. But on the flip side, we've seen so many people that have really embraced that technology that are thriving. I've been able to form my own business from it. There are many others that are getting really awesome jobs and doing some really cool work, saving people time. So I think there's both sides of any technology change, and so it's how you choose to go forward with it.
Yeah, 100%. And you say that it's helped you with your business a lot, and you're only 23. We're the same age, and wow. You're only 23 and you've already founded Harkness AI and Young Kiwis in AI. Take us back to the beginning. Like, where did it actually start, and when did you actually find interest in it? And also, as a young person, how did you even think about or process all of this?
Yeah, so I studied a mechatronic engineering degree at Massey in Palmerston North. And about halfway through that degree was when ChatGPT rolled out. I chucked all my exams and assignments through and realized pretty quickly that at that time AI could answer 90% of the stuff that I was doing. And that was really a bit of an awakening moment of, oh crap, am I going to get a job at the end of this degree? From there, I kind of started playing around with it as much as I could, playing around with different tools, figuring out what's out there, where the limitations are. And I really, really enjoyed it. By the end of the degree, had a few different job opportunities. One was down at Main Power down in Christchurch. It's a lines and transmission electricity company. And they had one little bullet point, I think, on the job description about helping the business with AI. And so I took that one and ignored all of my other responsibilities pretty much and only was doing AI for them. And so that was teaching people how to use Copilot, that was going and building out agents, automations, scripts, whatever it may be, just kind of almost business optimization tasks. What I realized pretty quickly in there is that for a 150 person company to trust a grad to come in and like overhaul their business with AI is very, very hard. And so there's lots of layers of governance to get things done. And so I was like, actually, I've got a lot of value here. So I'm going to start my own thing. And so I started posting social media content. A lot of people out there in the AI space at the moment kind of come from typically marketing or consulting backgrounds. They're kind of just selling the tools and going, hey, AI can do everything for you. Go buy this. And then they make money off it. Because I've got that engineering background, I'm like, hey, there's some real practical use cases. Let's actually show people that. And that's helped allow me to build the business. And so now we've worked with around 30 businesses right across Australia and New Zealand. So it's been really awesome.
That's impressive. Wow. But also AI is a term kind of thrown around as well, like a lot of other terms. If someone's grandma was watching, how would you explain AI to them? Because a lot of people think it's a really new term. Yeah, again, scary term. People don't really know what it is, and they don't actually realize that we're using it every day.
Yeah, as its simplest form, it's pattern recognition. It's got all the information out there on the internet. It's converted that to computer code and it's done pattern recognition. And so if I say, write me an email, it's going to look at all the example emails that it's got out there and choose the most average version, combining them. And so when we're actually talking with it, it's not this crazy intelligent thing. It's just predicting the next word. And so it's going, this is da 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 da. And what is the most likely next word? So it's just pattern recognition. We've had AI for a while, like you've mentioned. The traditional term is kind of machine learning. And so a really easy example of that is what's the temperature been in New Zealand for the past 25, 50 years? Typically, you could do, hey, here's a straight line. This is what we estimate it's going to be moving forward. But we can actually use machine learning to find those patterns in that data and predict it a little bit more accurately as well. Really good example of this is Netflix recommendations. If I start watching certain types of documentaries, then I'm more likely to be shown those. Spotify, same sort of thing. And even autocorrect and tools like Grammarly are all using versions of AI. So it's not new. And anyone that says they haven't used AI, you probably have without knowing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. A lot of the times it comes into our lives without us even realizing, like, YouTube ads and, like you said, Spotify and Netflix recommendations. So I feel like almost everyone has kind of experienced it, just like you said, without knowing. And you also said there's like the two kind of comps of like people being really excited about it and, like thinking it's everything for the future. And then there's the people that are scared by the thought and they think it's just going to replace everyone and take over jobs and, it's not a friendly interface. What is the biggest misconception, and where in that range do you stand?
Yeah, I'm obviously pushing the forefront of AI, trying to really utilize it to the most positive impact as possible. But I think with that said, the new part is the generative side. So Gen AI, that's when your ChatGPT, it's only been around kind of 4 or 5-ish years now. And so that's when it's like text, video, image creation. It's so hard to know what the right answer is because it's been so short of time. So yes, I'm going forward really hard, going, hey, we can use AI for all of these different places. But at the same time, you need those people that are going, hold up, where are we actually sitting with this? Where are we heading? Are we going to have this massive job loss? What is the ethics, the sustainability, all of those concerns? Because the answer is always going to be somewhere in the middle. And so you've got to have people on both extremes, especially because of how new and how fast it's adapting.
Yeah, you can't kind of lose people just to like it moving forward, and then you have no one to actually think for themselves.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, generative AI is like probably the newest kind of form of artificial intelligence. But there's also other terms thrown around like machine learning and automation, and again, generative AI. Um, what, in the least technical way, is the difference between
Mm.
these terms to you?
Yeah, so machine learning is the pattern recognition typically on data. So it's like that temperature data, for example. If we pass it all the temperature data, we can give it some other information, maybe about the weather conditions. Can we predict it moving forward? Automation, I mean, that's been around forever. If we look at farm equipment, that is an example of automation. Previously, you had to have people going in there doing all the soil pieces. Now you've got tractors. Any part of life can be automated. It's just making a process faster. And then when we look at generative AI, that's when it's creating transformative content. It's learned off the whole internet in terms of images, text, whatever is out there, and then it's generating transformative content from that. So those are kind of the three different phases there.
Very nice. I feel like that was very easily explained and something we can always keep with us. When we talk about job losses to AI and people being scared of that kind of space, there's that kind of idea of the substitution effect versus like the productivity effect, where on one hand, artificial intelligence kind of automates tasks and can reduce, demand for some work. But on the other hand, we also have people becoming extremely productive because they're trying to fight that and, there are new opportunities being created. How do you think people can kind of balance that? Again, like we spoke about the two extremes before. How will we balance the will AI take my job question?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's really hard, and you've got to kind of really be brutal and assess what is your job. There are a lot of people out there which are just doing manual data entry. If I'm taking data from one system and I'm putting it into another, those are definitely at risk. But that's not really because of AI. Automation has been able to do that job for a very long time as well. When you look at your job and if you've got a lot of human judgment, you're reviewing things, you've got that knowledge, that industry domain expertise, that's where it's very hard to replace that with AI. We've seen a lot of cases where jobs have been lost from AI and they end up hiring the staff back. What we actually see from companies that are adopting AI really efficiently is they're actually growing. Because their staff can do 10x the amount of work, they can then get 10x the amount of customers. And they actually need more staff to come on board to help them grow that out further as well. The biggest risk that I see at the moment is with that new generation. So the graduates coming through. Majority of businesses I speak to go, hey, we can use AI, we can do a whole lot more productivity, But what we don't want to be doing is actually hiring more staff. We don't want to increase our headcount, but we need help with AI. We don't know how to use it. And they're almost cutting off this generation that is coming forward with these AI skills. Yes, they need to know about the business, that domain expertise, but they've got these AI skills that can be hugely valuable to help the business out, but they're choosing not to hire any new graduates. And so that's where the real concern is for our workforce, I think.
So what you say that they're not trying to hire young people when we're considerably the digital natives of this day and age. What are they looking for then? Because if they say the young people are the future and they're not ready to hire the young people that have just kind of studied and spent so much money and time and effort kind of learning all these things for the jobs that they want to go into, what are they actually looking for?
Mm. I think it's really hard and it's so dependent on the people as well. So, like I said, the ones that are really pushing forward, the kind of thought leaders, they are continuously hiring because that's their next talent, that's their pipeline for their business growth. But there are those ones that just go view AI as purely cost cutting and we're not going to continue to grow. When we're looking at what people are actually looking for in terms of students and graduates coming out, it's becoming way less around the theoretical. What did you learn at uni? It's more about really practical. How can you help the business? In this way now, knowledge is essentially free. If I can go into I can get AI to explain what generative AI versus automation versus machine learning, it can explain that to me like my 3-year-old. I can get that knowledge and understand that. But what you don't have is that practical application. How do we use AI in a real estate business? How do we actually market a real estate business? Whatever your domain expertise is, that's where your core value sits, but that human judgment on top. How do we validate these outputs? I've got AI to generate me 100 creative pieces of content for my brand. Do I post this? Which is good? What's the frequent? All of these kind of thoughts that you have to have on top of that is where it sits. And so the biggest advice for students is having that kind of projects, those real examples. And so that's how I started out posting on social media. And so the first thing that I built with AI was a platform called Glow for Less. And the whole idea was for my partner. You take a photo of a makeup product, it goes and finds ingredients for that, and then finds cheaper alternatives. And so it's a really simple thing. Okay, I can build something cool with AI. Let's chuck this out there. And then you start posting about it. And then someone goes, oh, actually, I can see that you've built that. It's not related to engineering whatsoever, but you've got those problem solving skills and the initiative to go out and build something that works. There's 100% if I get you in my business, you'll be able to help out with that.
Yeah, I think it's also just kind of working with your critical thinking alongside having all these tools handy, but also you say that they're looking for your problem solving, but New Zealand was actually one of the last OECD countries, or it was actually the last OECD country to write up an AI strategy. I think that was last year, 2025 July. Why do you think it was so slow to adopt that strategy, and what in the framework works, do you think? And what
Yeah,
doesn't?
I remember reading that when it came out, and there was like almost no thoughts about it. To be fair, it was just like businesses need to use AI. It can save you money. That was pretty much like the summary of it from my reading. I think it's just that, yeah, it's a bit of that fear in terms of being the leaders. I think it's quite hard, obviously, in politics that you want to go out and do something that's really useful for the people. And but how many risks are you going to take? So artificial intelligence is so new. Are you going to go on a big whim going, hey, we're going to really use AI? You don't know where your supporters actually sit with that. How are you going to advise businesses? There's so many things that come into play for politics. So mostly as a whole, I kind of just ignore that piece. They have done some cool stuff around funding. So there's like an AI advisory funding where businesses can get, I think it's like half price and up to, I think, maybe about $15,000 in terms of getting someone in to help them out with AI and set things up. There's a few things around that, but as a whole, I think we're quite far behind, especially when you look at Australia and other countries.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we were like the last ones to adapt it in like this fast-paced economy, and we're already far away from the other countries in the world. So I thought it would be a lot quicker. And initially unis were banning it, and they didn't really know how to cope with it. I remember being at Messi at the same time as you, and everyone kind of just becoming frantic. No one knew what to do with it. But also with the rise of AI, and with the dilemma between, is it too scary, are we going to lose jobs or not, there's also that saying that there's an increase in wage inequality, and people that know how to use the tools become productive, people that don't. And it's just becoming like, I don't know, I feel like digital literacy is just becoming as important as AI literacy. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think AI tools have been explored equally amongst other countries?
Yeah, oh, 100%. I mean, if you were to go into any office job today, you're expected to know how to use the entire Microsoft suite, or you're expected to know the entire Google suite, your Gmail, your Outlook, your Google Docs, whatever it may be. Nowadays, you need to be able to use AI. It's the same thing. We saw one about 6 months ago now, and I think it was a Christchurch netball job ad for like a administrator. And part of the bullet points was that you were able to use Copilot for your administrative duties. It makes sense, right? It is the same sort of thing. It's a tool for the job. There are not AI shouldn't be used in every part of a job and 100% doing the job, but there are certain aspects that you kind of need to do it. It's the same as like if I'm writing a document now, people use autocorrect in there from the spelling. My spelling's gone pretty bad because of that, but that's kind of the way it's all going. So
I mean, it understands you regardless, right? Like if you throw in a command or like a question, it will kind of fix it to understand what it is. So I don't blame your spelling going bad. But also again, like that comes back to like our cognitive skills. People think there's always two extremes when it comes to this environment. People think that it's taking over our critical thinking or cognitive skills, but also there's people that think that it challenges your thinking. The more it learns or the more it questions you, you question yourself and you start digging deeper into your brains. Do you think it's actually like minimizing our thinking skills, or do you think we're actually like learning heaps from it? Like you said, if the business does like 10 times the amount of work or is 10 times more productive, the business will make 10 times the amount of money.
yeah, so it's interesting because we're getting this productivity back on that 10 times, but when there's almost no business seeing that same in terms of the ROI at the moment. So a lot of businesses go, hey, we're doing 2x the work, but we might be getting the same amount of profit as well. So it's definitely not the same in terms of that at the moment because, again, it's moving so fast. Back on that kind of cognitive load thing, it is definitely taking people's brain away. There are people that I've spoken to that had one that was just convinced he solved this magnificent problem that no one else has done, and it was like being able to reduce AI hallucinations to zero, and it was this perfect machine. And then OpenAI and Anthropic have never heard of it before. And so he was emailing me back and forth, like, sign this NDA, I've got this crazy thing, we can make millions of dollars. And it's purely because he's having a chat with ChatGPT and ChatGPT is reiterating his own beliefs. And so there's kind of that AI psychosis, right? And so it depends entirely on the user. When I was at university, we had people the year below me just chucking everything into AI and they didn't learn anything. They didn't show up to lectures, they put all that content in, they submitted the assignments, they passed. And so where does that actually sit for their value going into roles now? And so you have to be really mindful in how you're using it. On the flip side, it's been so good for me to learn new information from. Learning about social media, learning about running a business. How do I do my taxes? What different software is out there? There's so much information out there that I've got to learn to do this, but I wouldn't be able to as easily do this without AI now because it can take all that information and then condense it in a customized way that I can really easily understand. So you have to be really mindful and it depends on how you choose to use it.
I agree. And like you said, people often like put thoughts into AI and like ChatGPT, for example, and they kind of fed back what they want to hear. Um, I mean, the machines obviously learned the pattern of what you think, and it's kind of just reiterating or regurgitating those kind of thoughts. But what should we do more intentionally and more mindfully? Like you said, we need to be more mindful, but in what aspects to continue doing things ourselves and kind of still have that kind of grip on our brains?
So the way I like to think about it is it's really good for information retrieval. If I want it to pull information, so you kind of get into agentic AI, which is where I do a lot of work in. My Claude environment is connected to my email, it's connected to my Google Docs, it's connected to my finance and Zero, it's connected to all my systems. And so traditionally, if I wanted to pull information about a client, I'd have to go into all these different systems and get them together. That may take me 5 to 10 minutes. Whereas now I can ask Claude and Claude can pull that information together for me. And then I can do the decision making. What's the next steps? How do I respond to this email? What is the proposal looking like? All of that stuff. So it's really good for that information retrieval, but I don't want to ever give it off that decision making. I don't want to go, hey, here's all my clients, what offering should I make them? What's the proposal? Like all that, like you can have it to draft the proposal, which I do, but it's not going to be that full decision making side of things as well. And then everything in draft. So before you claim it, like anything that you create with AI, you still have that ownership of. And that's one thing we see a lot in businesses that we work with, where staff members go, "Hey, I'm going to use AI to create this full report." Pretty just AI slop. They haven't reviewed it at all. They send
Yeah.
it off, and they go, when they get questioned about it in a meeting, they go, "Oh, well, AI generated it." Well, that doesn't matter. It came from you. That's your responsibility as well. So those are some examples there.
We can definitely talk about AI slop. I feel like a lot of times we do delegate tasks to AI a bit too often, and then we're getting the same kind of output as every other person in the room. And you can see the way people's writings have changed over the years. And like if you go on LinkedIn, everyone's posts are sounding the same, but also now using them for posters.
Mm.
I understand making lives easier, but there's sometimes you just need to stand out and like be different. And it's also, I think, changed the way we value technical tasks. And I don't know, do you think empathy becomes more valuable in that kind of sense where your creativity is affected by generative AI, your leadership's affected by artificial intelligence, your communication is as well, because obviously that's doing all the email writings for you and producing all your documents for you. Where do you think we can use our heart and mind when it comes to
Yeah.
producing these kind of tasks?
Yeah, I think it's that high level thought and it's that creativity. It's just pattern recognition. And so if you just tell it to go generate me a poster for my lawn care business, it's going to be the most generic thing out there. I've seen a million that look the exact same because I've done that. But if you actually start loading, hey, this is the ideas that we have. Here's our creative briefs. Here's our brand guidelines. Here's like some example content. Then it really comes into your own tone of voice. And so
Yeah.
it really depends on the user. LinkedIn ones are interesting as well. Like I see that all the time, and it's that hard balance. Like I've went through it as well, where I use AI to generate full LinkedIn posts. Like, yeah, that sounds alright. Chuck it out there, but then you read it back 2 weeks later, and this is just not anything that you would say, and the wording's just not right at all. And so, for me, it's more around that ideas. Hey, I'm going to talk about this. What other ways can I say this piece, or how do I do that? And then other times, I just find it's just easier for me to write it myself rather than trying to get that blended piece. Um, it's really, really difficult in terms of the marketing side and kind of social media. But that's why I've got everything kind of in my personal brand. And so nothing's really in the business. It's people buy from people. And so everything's in Blake Harkness, my TikTok, my Instagram, YouTube, everything's Blake Harkness. And so it's that personal side of things that with a world of AI, it's so easy to generate an AI video person to come on this podcast and speak, but you can't have those failures with AI typically, and you want to have that human to human connection. And I think it makes it easier for businesses that to actually stand out. And so you've got to figure out as a business or an individual, where is your current line with AI? And it doesn't have to be like a set in stone one. It's kind of drawn in the sand because tools change, your opinion changes. But at the moment, I've got a voice clone and like a video clone of myself from a tool called HeyGen that I can't tell that it's not me actually speaking. But I'm not going to use that for any content because it's just not being genuine to me. Whereas other people will choose that line. So there's pros and cons.
The last bit that you said that you have a voice and facial clone, that's actually insane. I can't believe we've moved to this time in the world where that's actually even possible. I remember just seeing that in movies, but that is genuinely so cool.
It was so. I recently went to a trip to China to go visit a lot of the AI and robotic companies on a New Zealand delegation, and one of the things we were shown is they have AI live influencers, and so this is where they take a clone of a celebrity. They take video content from them speaking. They've got their voice. They've got their mannerisms. Everything they do. There was two of them sitting there in a live stream and they had millions of viewers interacting with it and they're selling products. So they go chat back and forth, a new comment comes in, they'll actually respond to it all using AI, and then they'll go, oh, hey, this is the cool product, whatever it may be, and then go back and forth. And they actually found, they clearly labeled that it was AI generated, but they actually found that there was no significant decrease in the sales for that product from using an AI person to a real person over in that market. So it's crazy scarily good. And again, anyone that thinks they haven't seen an AI clone or a video person, you definitely have.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess if the revenue's still coming in on the same kind of depth, then I guess it's okay.
It's just the difference in market because you do that in New Zealand or kind of majority of Western countries, and you say, "Hey, this is an AI clone of Blake." No one's going to engage. I'm going to be cancelled. I'm going to have so many posts about it. But in that market, it's all sweet.
Yeah, definitely depends where you are in the world as well. But also, you earlier said that it's up to one's own kind of interpretation and mindfulness to choose or like their own values where they kind of go, where if they embrace this kind of side of kind of just delegating everything and kind of letting go of the reins, but you choose to be really mindful and like value that human interaction. And I think that's what stands out to businesses. What is one advice you can give people to kind of be in that same kind of mental space to thrive
Yeah,
in the growing AI space?
it's all around the admin, manual, repetitive tasks that I'm not providing value to. For me, my value is being able to speak to people, go to networking events, meet with my clients, meet new people, have coffees, all of that kind of thing, do that client face to face stuff. But me sitting at home, sending an invoice out or drafting a document or that kind of piece, I'm not actually providing that much value. And so my whole purpose is to go look at my admin tasks. Where can I help reduce that? But then also, how can I do more? With my community, how can I reach out to more people? How can I do all those pieces? And so my general approach is pretty much at the end of each week, I look back and go, what was the most painful thing I did that I don't want to have to do again? And then I go, hey, Claude, how can we implement this and actually utilize that to be faster? And so that's kind of my process and just taking it step by step because it is overwhelming. AI can do so much for you, but where is the most benefit for you? You've got to really sit down and have that reflection. And so figure out what it is last week, write down what it is, where does the data come from, what is the process that I'm doing, what does the output look like, and then sit down with an AI tool of your choice and kind of map that out.
Yeah. And like you said, it does get really overwhelming and it's really fast paced. How do you keep up to date with it? Obviously, you're in the practice within this field, but for someone that's not like that well versed with artificial intelligence or, generative AI, how should they keep up with the fast paced environment?
So one thing that I'd like to say is analysis paralysis. And so this is what I kind of had before creating content for social media. And I would watch so many YouTube videos and go, this is how to make a perfect TikTok channel, perfect YouTube channel, how to edit your videos, how to script it, all of these pieces. And so I'd spent probably 3 months just watching all this content. And everyone's got their own different opinions and it changes over time. But if I spend that time 3 months putting content out, getting real feedback, getting better at communicating, understanding, that is so much more beneficial. And so we're seeing the same with AI. It's moving so fast. It's so easy to go home, watch a YouTube video about how to use Claude for marketing, and then never actually use that. And you don't have that knowledge. And so the best thing to do is go into a tool, find a problem first, and then use some kind of tool to try solve that problem. And then you find out where it can break and where it can't go any further, and then you push it and question it. There's heaps of like newsletters and that kind of stuff that keep you up to date. But the best way for me is just playing around with the tools, get in there, trying to solve a problem. And if it didn't work a month ago, likely it could work today. So it's quite exciting in that way.
And what do you think would be probably the most beginner friendly tool to start experimenting with, in your
Yes,
opinion?
yeah, ChatGPT is probably the most common one that people use, and they've got a bit over 900 million active users every single week, which is pretty impressive. That's probably the one that most people have used. At the moment, in the past probably 8 months, Claude has been the most popular tool, especially for businesses, entrepreneurs, all of that piece. The main reason for that is it's able to connect to pretty much any software. So I'm able to connect it to my email, my Xero, my Notion, whatever else I may be using. It's then able to have skills. And so if I've got a repetitive task in my business or my life, then I can turn it into a skill. And so one of the examples is that proposal generation. So, like I said, I've got that critical thinking. I go, yes, this is what we're going to actually propose to them. But me copying and pasting their information from the transcript into the template isn't that useful. So AI helps with that. And the skill basically tells AI step by step, this is what you need to do. It's a set of instructions. And so those are the main pieces there. And then a lot of people enjoy or prefer to go into Claude, which is owned by Anthropic, for a bit of ethical concerns as well. So the Department of War over in the States pretty much said to the AI companies, we're going to use your AI models for mass surveillance of US citizens and autonomous killing drones. And Anthropic, the team behind Claude, were the only ones that said no to that as well. So there's a bit of an ethical stance that people take moving with it.
Wow, okay. That's definitely some new learning for me as well. And you said a tool that probably didn't work like a month ago would probably work as well today. And that's just like, a month's example that you've given. Imagine like 10 years from now, you're in 2036. What do you think that we think is unbelievable today is really and completely normal then? Like you said, the clones. What do you think would be normal?
Yeah, it's. I think it's got to be in the robotic space. So at the moment, when we talk about AI, it's pretty much software. It's ChatGPT, it's Claude, it's Gemini. When we visited in China, AI is embedded to everything. The core example of this is the robotics side. Every hotel that we stayed at, they had a robot in the reception. And so what their version of their Uber driver would do is it would bring it to the hotel reception. They'd put the special code into the robot. They'd put your food that you've delivered, and the robot is fully connected with the hotel system. And so it will drive to the elevator, go into the elevator, go up to your room, and ring your doorbell. And then you've got food sitting there. And this is every hotel that we stayed at. The same sort of thing, they had a version of Siri inside the hotel rooms. And so you would speak and go, hey, turn the AC on, open the blinds, change all the things, all voice controlled using AI. And so for them, it's actually embedded. It's not just an app on your phone. It is the robotic side of things that we'll definitely start to see here in New Zealand. And it's crazy how cheap they are as well. Plenty of people have probably seen like the little robot dogs around, maybe online. You can buy those for the price of an iPhone and get them shipped here in New Zealand. Some of those latest humanoid robots, I think it was around 10 to 13K USD, which is not a lot when you compare that to anything else. So it's, yeah, and it's only going to get more advanced and cheaper as well.
I mean, when you hear 10K, it sounds big, but if you think about cost per use, you start to really see how useful, especially for businesses, it could be.
Well, I mean,
Um,
what the average salary, median wage is, I don't know off the top of my head, 55 or 60 around that range, and then median's around 70, 80, I presume. Don't know the exact stats, don't quote me. But if you can get a robot in and then you can do some of those tasks, gets quite scary. I don't think we're close to that yet, though. There's plenty of flashy demos, especially like the boxing robots and all the other things that you can see online from the Olympics. The hardest piece right now is the gap between the simulated data and the real world. And so you look at a large language model and you've got all this information out there. There's heaps of examples of emails that are out there for free, documents, whatever it may be. But how many videos out there of a person cleaning a home in New Zealander? There's no data on that. You can't get that information and data. So how can you actually train a robot to do that? And so that's the big piece that they're going through at the moment is collating all that information and data. So we were quite far off, I think, having that real home use, but that's where the big push is. And so you've seen it over in the States where people will pay, it's free house cleaning as long as the person's wearing like a full body tracking suit and cameras everywhere. And they'll clean your house for free. And all it is train these robots to then do that task for you. So it is interesting. We're not quite there yet, but it's definitely where we're going.
Generally very scary, but also very intriguing. Like it's coming so quickly, and like ChatGPT only came about, I think, 2021, 2022, and you can see how quick the use of it has grown. So I wouldn't be surprised if we'd be seeing a lot of that in like 5 to 10 years time.
Mm.
Um, but also we spoke about how students are struggling. What about people that are already settled in their jobs, like think middle age or even elderly? They're scared of job displacements, but what is one thing they shouldn't worry about, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a worry for everyone that I speak to. And you're right. You have to be a little bit worried because there's no way of telling where this is all ending up really. And again, we look back where it was last year or probably 2 years ago is a good example. There wasn't many real use cases for AI. It was cool at making a quick little image. It was cool at doing a email here and there. Didn't really know your tone of voice. But where we are today is it can run major parts of businesses, and it's huge for my own one as well. And so we don't know where it's going to end up in the next couple of years. And so the most important thing is figuring out really realistically where is the value that I'm providing. It's not copying and pasting information and putting it into a template. It's that high level thought, that management, that domain expertise. And then how can we use AI to leverage that so we can be more valuable in that way as well?
Yeah, again, comes back to how we kind of use it to our own goods and kind of practicing with the tools itself. I'm going to head to a rapid fire round. So say whatever that comes to mind first, whether it be a word, a phrase, a quote, a person's name, or anything. So answer as quickly as you can. And it might be repeating some of the questions earlier, but basically it's just going to be a summary for people to take away with them. AI will create more jobs than it replaces.
Hopefully.
One AI tool everyone should try.
Claude.
One AI habit everyone should stop.
Using free AI tools because they will train on your data. So if you're using any, I know it's going to be a quick fire round, but any free tool that you put your own information into will be training on your data. And so we've seen that a lot over in the States where people put confidential contracts in to ChatGPT. It picks up in the training data. A couple months later, someone goes, hey, tell me about this company. And the confidential contract actually comes out. So regardless of AI, any free tool that you put your personal information into online, you've got no idea where that data's going. So don't put it in. Pay the $40 subscription to get the paid account.
That is insane. That is stuff that people would probably not know, like me. Wow.
Yeah, I spoke at a conference recently, and I think around 80% of the people there were putting their business information into free AI tools. And I'm just like, wow. Yeah, definitely paid. But it's not even AI, right? If you've got a Facebook account and you're putting information on Facebook, you've got that data is likely been already trained with on AI because it's a free account. You've got no control over that.
Yeah, and you've left your digital footprint. A lot of people just kind of don't know what happens with social media. When I thought about that question, I just thought, oh yeah, like overdependence would be a good answer. Wow, okay. Guys, get those subscriptions in, please. Don't let AI take over your personal information. Most underrated career of the future.
Ooh, I think it's the creativity. You typically look like this is again quick fire, but when we were speaking over in China to one of the leading professors at one of the universities, we asked them what degree should people study, because I would have thought it would be computer science, STEM, kind of the engineering pathways, and he said everything doesn't matter what it is as long as you're being using AI for that. And so you still have to have those creative people in the world that can have those creative skills, but still have to use AI there. So it doesn't really matter. It's everything. We still need those existing ones.
Okay, because you're right. I would have thought the same. Like you'd think computer science, all that kind of stuff. One skill AI will never replace.
Human connection, I'd say. It's kind of a skill. It's been able to relate to people, having that conversation.
Empathy, human connection. Yep. And then like value sharing as well. Biggest myth about AI in one sentence.
That it will always be right.
Yep. Please always fact check when you're using AI. Just don't just use all the stats it's giving you. Finish the sentence. The future belongs to people who
choose it. I think you are fully in control of your own future, so you can choose to use AI, you can choose to not, but there's pros and cons of both sides, so you can shape your own future.
Fair, I love that. Final question. If every young person was listening right now and they're excited about artificial intelligence, but they're also nervous at the same time, what's one piece of advice you'd want them to remember and take away with? Not just about technology, not just about the fast-paced environment, but also building a very meaningful kind of world in the AI kind of revolution space.
Because it's moving so fast, you have to do a bit of deep diving and going, who am I? What do I want to be doing? What do I want to be doing now? What do I want to be doing in 5 years? Where do I see myself in 20 years? And having just a really rough idea of where you see yourself moving forward is great. It doesn't have to be stuck in stone. My one changes all the time, but at least you have a goal that you're moving towards, and that's the main piece. And then you can make those decisions. Is university the right call? Should I be going really hard on AI for my job? Should I get these internships? Whatever it may be, just have some goals and then start working towards them.
Yeah, I really like that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Blake. There's definitely a lot that I learned today, and I'm really hoping people have learned quite a bit more as well, because again, you come from that kind of background of expertise that a lot of people don't have and probably have learned about AI through AI itself. But yeah, I really hope today has left people a little bit more informed and a little bit more inspired, and they can see that AI is not everything. While it is fastly growing, they can choose what they want to do with it, like you said in the last question.
Yeah.
And thank you for just breaking down all these myths and making it really easy to understand. And I hope you also enjoyed the episode. I will be linking your LinkedIn and your Instagram, and hopefully people can learn about Harkness AI and Young Kiwis in AI with you as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Blake.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me.
And for everyone listening, thank you so much for spending yet another day of yours with the Global Seat. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe, and share it with someone who you think would be interested in learning about artificial intelligence and the growing pace of today's world. Until next time, keep asking questions, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.